This is Freshly Squeezed True Crime, a Florida-only true crime podcast. I'm Suhaili, and before we get to this week's juicy episode, I ask you to visit the website at fstcpodcast.com, where you'll find all of our social media platforms as well as the newest episodes. And also, find us on YouTube, where we'd like you to follow us, subscribe, share it, do all the things. So, pour yourself a tall glass of orange juice and let me tell you a story. Between 1900 and 2000, there were 909 victims of mass murder in the U.S., defined as 4 victims within a 24-hour period. Of those, more than half occurred within an immediate family. Although familicide cases are relatively rare, they are the most common form of mass killings. Familicide differs from other forms of mass murder in that the murderer kills family members or loved ones rather than strangers. This has a different psychodynamic and psychiatric significance, but the distinction is not always made. There is no clear evidence that familicide is currently on the rise, as data is limited and studies often focus on specific timeframes or regions. But common contributing factors include financial stress, separation or divorce, a history of domestic violence, and the concept of toxic masculinity, leading to a need for control. Familicide typically involves a perpetrator who is a male, often using firearms, and frequently commits suicide afterwards. Family annihilators are among the most chilling perpetrators in the true crime world. Familicide is not just an individual tragedy, but also a symptom of broader social pathologies, including failures in mental health support, domestic violence prevention, and community support systems. Ronald Gene Simmons, Anthony Tolt, Grant Amato, John List, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, Julie Schneckner, Andrea Yates, Christopher Watts, Michael Hyatt, Ronald DeFeo, all murderers who committed familicide. So today, as you gather around the table and celebrate Thanksgiving, let's talk about Paul Merhige. Palm Beach is an incorporated town in Palm Beach County in South Florida, separated from the mainland by the Lake Worth Lagoon. It was settled in 1872 and incorporated in 1911. Its zip codes are 33480, and its population is 9,245. Between 1816 and 1858, most Native Americans were expelled from the area. White Americans began to inhabit the area as early as 1872. A post office was opened in 1877, as well as a town mayor and its first hotel, the Coconut Grove House, in 1880. Forbes reported in 2017 that Palm Beach had at least 30 billionaires, with the town's ranking as the 27th wealthiest place in the U.S. Finally, because I'm a bookworm and a certified dork, in Dr. Seuss's classic book, Horton Hatches the Who, Palm Beach is the vacation destination for Macy the Bird. That was your palate cleanser for this episode, so I hope you enjoyed it. Before the wanted posters and the terrible night that we're about to discuss, before the restraining orders and the conflicts and the breakdown that started it all, before all of that, there was a promise made on a senior high school yearbook page from Paul Michael Merhige to all 32 members of his family. Quote, "I love you now and will forever," end quote. But forever didn't last. How did the 17-year-old who wrote, "I have been so lucky to be blessed with having twin sisters and being a protective older brother," become the 35-year-old who killed them both? How did "Mom and Dad, thank you for all you have given me" turn into reloading his gun and saying to his father, "I've been waiting 20 years to do this"? Paul Michael Merhige graduated third in his class from Gulliver Prep, a pricey haven for the children of Miami's well-to-do. Let me paint you a picture of the school and give you a general idea of what you could expect by attending the school. Gulliver Preparatory School, or simply Gulliver Prep, is a private co-ed school. It has 4 campuses across the county. Gulliver Academy was founded in 1926, and Gulliver Prep opened in 1975. More than 2,200 students are enrolled at the 4 campuses from pre-K through 12th grade. It offers honors, advanced placement, and the IB program. The average class size is 16 students, and the student-teacher ratio is 8-to-1. It offers more than 30 AP courses, an internship program, and dual enrollment opportunities at the University of Miami, Florida International University, and Miami-Dade College. Sports include baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, lacrosse, soccer, softball, swimming, tennis, track and field, volleyball, and water polo. You know what they don't have, and I find it offensive? Wrestling. Not just because I'm a huge wrestling fan, don't come at me, but also because I was on the wrestling team in high school. Notable alumni include United States Secretary of Labor R. Alexander Acosta, Texas Commissioner of Lands George P. Bush, yes, of the Bush family, which includes George H.W., George W., and Jeb, ever heard of them? And WNBA and Olympic gold medalist Sylvia Fowles. NFL defensive end Joe Jackson, Enrique Iglesias, Julio Iglesias Jr., New York Yankees shortstop George Lombard Jr., NFL defensive back Patrick Robinson, LA Dodgers relief pitcher Steven Rodriguez, Firefox co-creator Blake Ross, Facebook co-founder Eduardo Severin, and finally, because we all know my love for all things Bravo, especially the Real Housewives of all the cities, Marisol Patton of the Real Housewives of Miami. I say all that again to paint you a picture of what Merhige's family expected from their children, the very best. Paul Michael Merhige played football, baseball, and soccer, led the French Honor Society, was driven and mature, handsome and fit, personable but quiet, well-liked if not precisely popular. After graduating from the University of Miami, he never held a job and was supported his whole life by his parents, his mother said. It is said that mental illness often manifests itself in college, pre-existing conditions triggered by stress and drastic life changes. Those mental disorders can feed into violence, but the movement from breakdown to violence is often gradual. It starts with a slight, real or perceived. I'm no mental health expert, but perhaps after his first breakdown, Merhige was jealous of his sister's success. Maybe he felt like a failure and needed someone to blame. Perhaps it was something else entirely. Whatever it was, likely something, and that became a slight. That slight became resentment, and that resentment became rage. He once shot himself in the chest in a suicide attempt and allegedly threatened to cut the throat of his sister Lisa, which led to her to file a restraining order against him, which she later withdrew in 2006. According to a lawsuit filed by the Sittins, Paul had also been violent with his mother. Merhige became a troubled man. He was reclusive and had been unable to work after being diagnosed at age 19 with severe forms of depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder, as well as suffering from insomnia, obesity, a receding hairline, repeatedly bathing and shaving, struggling to make decisions, and unable to hold a job. Before then, however, he was vivacious, friendly, and well-liked. After his nervous breakdown, he was financially supported by his parents and lived with them until the year of the murders. They bought him a car and paid for his Miami apartment when he moved out. I need to take a sidebar. It's not a secret that I live with mental illness, and I have taken the proper steps in my life to work on mental health. It is my responsibility to work within myself every day, just like a diabetic and a cancer patient works on their diagnosis. I need to define obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and dispel the myths and the stereotypes. You see, OCD is a mental and behavioral disorder in which an individual has intrusive thoughts, an obsession, and feels the need to perform certain routines, compulsions, to relieve the distress caused by the obsession, to the extent where it impairs general function. Obsessions are persistent, unwanted thoughts, mental images, or urges that generate feelings of anxiety and disgust or discomfort. Some common obsessions include fear of contamination, obsession with symmetry, the fear of acting blasphemous, the sufferer's sexual orientation, and the fear of possibly harming others or themselves. Compulsions are repeated actions or routines that occur in response to obsessions to achieve a relief from the anxiety. Common compulsions include excessive hand washing, cleaning, counting, ordering, avoiding triggers, hoarding, neutralizing, seeking assurance, praying, and checking things. Many adults with OCD are aware that their compulsions do not make sense, but they perform them anyway to relieve the distress caused by the obsession. Compulsions occur often, typically taking up at least 1 hour per day, and impairing one's quality of life. Compulsions cause relief in the moment, but causes obsessions to grow over time. More than 3 million Americans suffer from OCD. According to Mercy, approximately 1 in 40 U.S. adults and 1 in 100 U.S. children have OCD. The cause of OCD is unknown. This is just the surface of OCD. I could sit here with you for hours and have this discussion, relaying all the things I've learned while traveling further and further down the rabbit hole. OCD is not a personality trait. It is a mental response to anxiety. It is treatable. You cannot always tell when a person has OCD. Often people with OCD are able to hide their symptoms while in public settings. OCD is not only about cleanliness. Compulsions include hoarding, praying, counting, repeated certain movements, touching, tapping objects, etc. Liking things to be orderly is not synonymous with having OCD. In general, the term OCD is thrown around very lightly, which can cause confusion. Joking about having a mental health condition minimizes the suffering of those actually suffering with it. If you want to be an ally, educate yourself and others. Ask how you can help. Listen with empathy and be mindful of your words. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. So, Merhige skipped his medicine, attempted suicide, and routinely threatened to kill family members. Court documents show Merhige and his siblings had a troubled history. Nearly a decade before the shootings, Merhige sought protection from law enforcement after he accused his sister of trying to kill him. Per the Miami Herald, he dropped the request a few weeks later. Paul Merhige had been estranged from his family members for years when he asked to attend Thanksgiving dinner in Jupiter, Florida on November 26, 2009, hosted by his cousin. Merhige was 35 when he sat down through 3 hours of dinner and sing-alongs around the piano, after which he then gunned down 4 relatives. His aunt, Raymonda Joseph, 76, was shot once in the shoulder, and then as her husband cowered in the ground next to her, trying to stop the bleeding. He held the gun to her chest and fired again, blowing a hole in her sternum. Joseph's husband later recalled. His 33-year-old twin sisters, Carla Merhige and Lisa Knight, who was pregnant, and Michaela Satan, the 6-year-old daughter of his cousin. When he pulled the trigger on his final victim, a sleeping girl, Merhige did so with the most cruelty. After Michaela was shot in her bed, he left the room but immediately hesitated. Apparently not convinced his work was done, he returned to her bed and shot her again, leaving her to die with a bullet in her back, another in her hip, and one more in her head. Patrick Knight, 37, Merhige's brother-in-law, was critically wounded, and Clifford Gabera, 52, was treated at the scene for a gunshot graze. Police said 17 relatives were in the home when the shootings were reported around 10 p.m. There were no arguments, no warnings or red flags before the rampage, said John Sinton, father of Michaela Sinton. He had this whole thing pre-planned. His goal was to shoot his sisters and punish his parents. At approximately 10:06 p.m., Jupiter Police Communications received a call from 126 Cocoa Lane, Jupiter, regarding hearing approximately 10 gunshots. The caller, Shay Webb, stated that she heard the gunshots and then people screaming. Webb stated at one point she heard a female yell, "Get the kids." Webb believed that the shots came from the east of her location. Webb advised that she heard 4 gunshots, and then after a 30-second delay, another 2, and then another shortly after. At 10:09 p.m., Joseph Villano called from 106 Veracruz stating that there was a man with a gun inside of 104 Veracruz. Villano described the suspect as a Hispanic male wearing a white shirt and blue jeans. Upon officers' arrival on the scene, it was determined that there were several victims with gunshot wounds. The suspect was identified as white male Paul Michael Merhige, who is related to the victims. It was determined that 3 individuals in the house were in fact deceased. Michaela was later pronounced deceased at the hospital as a result of her gunshot injuries. According to Merhige's father, Michael, he and his wife, Carol, Merhige's mother, reside in Miami. They paid for the car and the apartment for Merhige, also in Miami. The father stated that they also have a condo in Jupiter and drove up and stayed there the previous night, as they were to attend Thanksgiving dinner at the nieces and nephew's house located at 104 Veracruz. The father stated that he and his wife drove up the previous night alone. He stated that he and Merhige had talked the previous day, and Merhige kept asking what time the party was and how long it was supposed to last. and what time it would be over. He said that he kept asking even on Thanksgiving. Hours earlier, when Paul confirmed he was coming to the Sitton's gathering, his mother told Lisa, quote, "I hope he doesn't come and kill us all," end quote, according to a police report. Quote, "Mom, it came to my mind, but don't say that to Dad because Dad would get upset that we had such ideas," end quote. The plan for everyone was to arrive for dinner at 4 p.m. The father advised that his son was invited to Thanksgiving dinner and drove up the day of, but arrived 90 minutes late, just as they were sitting down to dinner. Merhige came in, sat down, did not eat, and was quiet. After they finished dinner, they were in the family room and the kitchen area. Some people were outside, and Michaela had gone to bed. He said that they moved from the living room to the family room so that Michaela could sleep. At some point after 9 p.m., Merhige went outside to the car and returned 20 minutes later and stood in the hallway and started firing just out of the blue. He moved from the living room near the front of the house to the family room/kitchen area. Merhige stood by the refrigerator. None of the family members are sure who Merhige shot first, but claim it to be Patrick Knight, as he was the closest to Merhige. Interviews were conducted with all the family members present. All advised similar versions of events in which Merhige, just prior to the shootings, went out to his car for 20 minutes. When he returned and came back into the kitchen, he began shooting a black semi-automatic handgun multiple times at different people. Sitton, a video photographer for a local TV station, said he didn't know who invited Merhige to his home, but he thought little of it when Merhige's father called to say Merhige was on his way and needed directions. He didn't believe Merhige planned to kill Michaela, but thinks he became jealous when he saw the family delight in her singing. You see, Michaela wrote on her cards how thankful she was for her family and strung them on a clothesline. After dinner, she sang songs as part of her impromptu dress rehearsal for a performance of the Nutcracker she was to be in the next day. Merhige was always on the fringe of family life and rarely attended gatherings. Sitton had only met Merhige twice and hadn't seen him in more than a decade. In preparation for this family meeting, he spent $2,000 on guns and ammunition at 2 Broward County gun shops and withdrew $12,000 from his bank account. He told the salesman who helped him purchase a scope for a bolt-action Remington 700 rifle that he used in the killing that he was going hunting. Paul fled the scene and went on the run, using the $12,000 he withdrew to survive. He was believed to be driving a royal blue 4-door 2007 Toyota Camry with a rear spoiler tag of W427JT. An extensive search of the area did not locate the suspect or his car. The horrific scale of his alleged crime and the prolonged national manhunt made him one of the nation's most wanted criminals. On the night of Saturday, January 2nd, 2010, he turned the television in his hotel room to local Fox station. America's Most Wanted was coming on at 9 p.m. with an in-depth special about the massive search for him. He was evidently nervous. He had barricaded one door to his room with a bar and had partially blocked the sliding glass door with the mattress. When an ambulance passed on the main road with its sirens blaring, Merhige cut the lights in his room and turned off the TV. He waited until the sirens had passed to turn them back on. He was eventually caught after 5 weeks on the run on January 2nd, 2010, at the Edgewaters Lodge in Long Key in the Florida Keys in room number 14, which he had paid for in advance via cash. This location is between Isla Morada and Marathon, after the motel's owner, Paul and Melinda Bath, saw his face broadcast during a college football game. Authorities who raided his motel room said Merhige apparently had been following the manhunt on the internet, and suicide was surely on his mind. When U.S. Marshals and Monroe County Sheriff's deputies burst into his room, they found a piece of cord tied in a noose, along with 3 small helium tanks, a plastic hood, and a rubber hose, tools that appeared could be assembled into a so-called suicide bag that he could use to suffocate himself. After smashing through the sliding glass door and into his room, a stunned Merhige rose from his computer and ran for the bathroom. Whatever his plans may have been, his ideas of suicide, the thoughts and regrets in his mind, they didn't matter as the guns trained on him. He stuck out his hands and pleaded to the marshals. He begged for his life. For the moment, at least, he wanted to live. By the way, it turns out that his license tag on the car had been registered to a Lexus he owned in 2006. He was taken to the Palm Beach County Jail, where he was held without bonds and charged with 4 counts of first-degree premeditated murder and 3 counts first-degree attempted murder. His parents, who supported him financially, even as a grown man, did not hire him a private defense attorney, so Merhige was defended by Kerry Woodruff, the county's public defender. While in custody at the Palm Beach County Jail, he seemed shaken by the horrors of his alleged deeds. He called his father collect at his Miami area home begging for forgiveness. Quote, "I think about them," he told his father. "I think about heaven, you know. I think about them constantly. I don't know how I could have done what I've done to hurt everyone I've hurt. It's because of me. Everyone was right about me, you know. Everything Mom would say, it was completely right." His father, sounding dry and defeated, in a static-filled recording of his jail phone call, had by then given Merhige an accounting of the wreckage. Quote, "We have nothing," he told his son. "You have nothing. It's a total nightmare. Our lives have changed forever." His public defenders explored an insanity defense. It entailed arguing that Merhige was not guilty because he did not know what he was doing and did not realize it was wrong. But this proved to be an uphill battle, as police had begun framing the case in a way to head off the insanity defense while Merhige was on the run for 38 days. They argued the murders were clearly premeditated, as the guns were purchased weeks before the killings. He had withdrawn thousands of dollars from the bank and bought a cover to hide his car. The defense once again characterized his mental illness by introducing comments from his mother in court documents with a history of suicide attempts and threats against his family. The portrait of Merhige that gradually emerged is that of a combative recluse, an intelligent one-time honor student and a varsity athlete who lived off his parents' money, alienated himself from his relatives, nursed fantasies of killing them for years, and planned their deaths with great care. He was by no means a functioning member of society. Veteran criminal profilers point out that his behavior appeared more akin to that of a sociopath than the clinically insane. He knew that killing people was wrong. He just didn't care. His thoughts and deeds after the killings are largely a mystery. It could be very possible he had begun to feel remorse, particularly for the death of his cousin's 6-year-old daughter, whom he had never met before that night, that he shot her in bed. When people sit down in the darkest room at the darkest point of their night and look into their souls, it's really hard to justify killing a child. On the date of October 27, 2011, he took a plea to avoid a death sentence. He was sentenced to 7 life sentences by the Honorable Judge Joseph George Marks. He is inmate B10149 and is located at RMC main unit located in Lake Butler. In the aftermath, Jim and Merle, the cousins and homeowners, were shocked and desperate as they couldn't hear the sounds of joy and laughter after the incident. During the shooting, Merhige walked towards Michaela Satan's room and shot her while she was in bed, not once, but twice. They stated they had a desire to start a family again from the time of the horrific events. 3 years after losing their daughter, they had a baby girl and named her Natalia Grace, and one more daughter named Rayla. Muriel says it's a tremendous blessing to be a mother again. Having these 2 girls every day is a reminder again of God's grace. As for the home where these events took place, it still stands. The couple said they couldn't leave the house as the memories of their daughter Michaela were in that house. In the years that followed, both Satan family and Patrick Knight filed lawsuits against Michael and Carol Merhige, Paul's parents. In the lawsuit, they claimed that the Miami couple set the stage for the shooting that claimed their lives of 4 relatives. Both suits were tossed without prejudice, with the following quote, "While the facts of this case are incredibly tragic, the Satans and Mr. Knight have not and cannot factually allege the existence of a legal duty under Florida law as it currently exists. Michael and Carol Merhige did not control the premises or firearms and had no legal rights or ability to control the actions of their son. While the court remains sensitive to the egregiousness of the facts and the tragedy that unfolded on that Thanksgiving Day, it is not the role of our trial courts to expand the law. The expansion of the law must remain squarely in the hands of our duly elected legislators or for the appellate courts. The family had a troubled past. This wasn't Michael Merhige's first experience with familicide. You see, in 1973, Paul's aunt, Michael's sister, 43-year-old opera singer Swalwa Merhige Abrams, murdered her ex-husband, pilot James Abrams, 45, and her two children, Jack, 14, and Melissa Ann, 10, before completing suicide by taking barbiturates after her final divorce hearing. Merhige Adams had given up her opera career to care for her family. After 19 years, her husband, a pilot, left her for a flight attendant. Unbeknownst to Adams, his former wife had bundled the two children into the car along with the family dog. After shooting Adams 4 times in the chest in the master bedroom with a .38 caliber revolver, she had invited Jack inside, emptied the gun into his body, and then brought Melissa Ann into a different room where she too was shot and killed. Merhige Abrams then swallowed a handful of barbiturates and later died at South Miami Hospital. I wanted to end today with something powerful and impactful, so I'm going to end today's episode with a few quotes from Patrick Knight during sentencing. I was married to Lisa and we were expecting our first child, and he snuffed out her life because he was jealous, because he was angry, because he resented anyone that did something good with their life. And Your Honor, he shot me. I met the man 4 or 5 times over 4 years, and he shot me in the stomach trying to kill me. He put a hole in my stomach. He put a bullet, the same bullet through my kidney that's gone. I was in a coma for 3 months and accumulated $2 million in medical expenses. When I woke up, while I'm grieving for the loss of my wife and expected baby, I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn how to sit up. I had to learn how to write, how to walk, how to tie my shoes, everything like a baby. And despite all of that, Your Honor, despite everything he stole from me, he failed, just as he has every other aspect of his life. And he failed because he didn't kill me. He didn't defeat me. And he cannot defeat me. He failed just like he failed in college. He failed just like he failed at 35 and never had a job. He has never had a girlfriend. He had no friends. He was fat and lazy and sat in front of a TV all day and a computer. That was his life. Complete failure. And he failed again here. Judge, even a dog shows compassion to his owner. This defendant has contributed nothing in society. He has been a complete failure. Now I hope that for the rest of our victims and myself, we've picked up the pieces and we're going to move on and we're going to do the best we can. For him, I hope that after today, he's forgotten. He's never talked about again. I don't want to be in a situation where I ever have to look over my shoulder to see if he's going to try and finish the job. I'm very happy that he'll be locked away and never have a chance of parole. I don't want to go through appeals for 20 or 30 years. I don't want a prosecutor to call me every year telling me there's a new appeal. I don't want the media coverage to keep interfering with my life every time something happens. And I fully respect the citizens' view. I do. I understand they lost so much, but I just have a different point of view. I want to try to move on and pick up the pieces and move forward. This episode was squeezed to perfection. First Few Squeeze is hosted and written by me, Sue Haley, and executive produced by Ebony. Still thirsty and need more? Visit us at fstcpodcast.com for links to all our social media handles, including YouTube. Want to keep the juice flowing? Make a donation by buying us a glass. And as always, cheers.